Good morning, and thank you very much for coming to Toronto Police Headquarters. Today, I'd like to introduce to you Director Christine Kievsky of Operational Support Services, Manager Dion Evelyn of Communications Services, Commander Leo Sang of Toronto Paramedic Services, Division Chief Jackie Preston of the Toronto Fire Services, and Tracy Finn, 911 Emergency Voice Services for Toronto Police. Together, they will be introducing to you Text with 911 service that has just been released. Direct.
Thank you, Victor. Good morning. I'm pleased to announce that today, the Toronto Police Service is introducing a new additional way for the members of our deaf, hard of hearing, and speech-impaired community to obtain an emergency response in time of need. This new independent and mobile access allows for texting with 911. It enables members of the DHHSI community to converse with a 911 call taker by text message. Across Canada, public safety answering points are gradually rolling out this new technology designed to better serve the deaf community. As communications technology advances, so must the ways in which the public can access 911. Today is a critical step forward for the deaf community in Toronto, who have until now relied upon costly, traditional phone line-based machines, family, friends, or strangers to assist in relaying their emergencies to us. For Toronto, today is a start of a new era, one better equipped to meet the needs of our DHHSI community. On behalf of the Toronto Police Service, Chief William Blair, and our command, I would like to take this opportunity to thank and acknowledge the hard work of the members of the Toronto Police Communications Service Unit and our partners in the emergency services. Our guest speakers include Commander Leo Sang from Toronto Paramedic Services and Division Chief Jackie Preston from Toronto Fire Services, who have joined us to speak on behalf of their agencies. And now I'd like to turn it over to Dion Evelyn, Manager of Communication Services, to tell you more about this new initiative.
Thank you, Director. The importance of this new service is designed to better serve our deaf community cannot be understated as we move to a more mobile and wireless means of communicating. And as an emergency service, we must ensure that all members of our community have access to 911. Our deaf community now has an additional mobile and independent means of reaching 911 through texting with 911. In order to use this service, members of the deaf community must register for T911 with their individual wireless service providers. Toronto Police is not a point of registration. At this time, the T911 service is only available to the deaf community once registered through their provider, and only in geographical locations where this service is available. Over the past 8 months, Peel Region, York Region, Thunder Bay, Winnipeg, Windsor, Vancouver, and Calgary have all introduced T911. The premise behind T911 is to allow a registered deaf user the freedom to travel across Canada and not be restricted from accessing 911. As more and more public safety answering points implement T911 across Canada over time, there will be fewer geographical limitations. The way it works is that the registered user would place a telephone call from their mobile device to the 3 digits of 911. This is no different than any other user calling in for an emergency service. It's the registration process that identifies this caller as a deaf caller. The background technologies recognize the call is coming from a registered T911 user, and the call taker initiates a conversation through a short SMS message, a text message. The 911 call taker has access to the text window on their computer and will gather the exact same information as they would if they were using their voice in a verbal 911 call. This new enhanced network also leads us to look forward as a service with regards to next generation 911 technologies. And over time, we'll be implementing those in staged approaches. Our final speaker of the day is Tracy Finn, the coordinator 911 voice services for communication services, and she'll elaborate more on this T911 feature. And at this time, I'd like to call on Leo Sang, Commander, Toronto Paramedic Services.
Thank you, Mr. Evelyn, and good morning to everybody. On behalf of Toronto Paramedic Services, I would like to thank you for attending this very important media event. The introduction of texting with 911 is an important and progressive step for Toronto Paramedic Services to better serve the deaf, hard of hearing, and speech-impaired community. Once a registered text with 911 user makes contact with a 911 call center and confirms that the location of the medical emergency, our highly trained emergency medical dispatchers can more efficiently obtain vital medical information from the caller. This will allow us to provide enhanced service to the deaf community. A language line, which allows us to serve the community in over 150 languages, texting with 911 will add an additional tool for our dispatchers to better communicate with members of the community when they need it most. Toronto Paramedic Services is pleased to be part of this collaboration with our emergency service partners in this very important initiative. Thank you very much for your time.
Good morning. I'm pleased to be here today to represent Toronto Fire Services for this important introduction of text with 911. On behalf of Fire Chief Sales and all of Toronto Fire Service staff, I'd like to extend our appreciation to the Police Department for their efforts to provide this important service. I'd also like to mention that recent innovations that may be helpful to the deaf community may also be of use to other citizens. As we age, we tend to lose our ability to hear high-frequency sounds, and there are now alarms that emit lower frequency tones, as well as connections to to smoke detectors that have shakers for beds and pillows, and they can be connected. These items are available online or at major hardware stores. Toronto Fire Communications staff are prepared and eager to include this new technology and to ensure that everyone in Toronto receives the most timely response from our fire service. Thank you.
Good morning. So today we introduce the text with 911 service for the deaf, deafened, hard of hearing, and speech-impaired communities. I'd like to walk you through the points some of the points, that the user should know. As Mr. Evelyn indicated, Toronto Police, nor Toronto Fire or Toronto Paramedic Services are a point of registration for this service. The users must register with their wireless service provider, and they can do that either online with their service provider or at one of their retail outlets. The best and most up-to-date information for Text with 911 is a website that's been put forth from the Canadian Wireless Telecommunications Association, the CWTA, and that website is textwith911.ca. This website will be up to date as various PSAPs across the country go live with this service, has a list of frequently asked questions and maps that show the boundaries for each area and where the service is available. This is a text with 911 service, and I think it's important that we stress text with 911. You cannot text to the 3 digits 911. If you do that from a wireless device, you will receive a bounce back message to let you know that texting to the digits 911 is not available. That message is unique and standard across the country. There is no cost for the T911 service for users. They just have to have a valid service with one of their carriers. To be eligible for the service, again, the user must register with their wireless service provider, and I can't stress that enough. If you don't register for the service, we have no way of knowing that there's a deaf caller on the other end of the line. The registration is key. When you place that 911 call from your registered device, a unique indicator shows up for the 911 call taker, and that is the indication for the call taker to reach out by text message to the caller. The first text message that the caller will receive is, "This is Toronto 911. What is the location you need help?" Once you receive that message, the text conversation is open and we can communicate by text. It's important that both the caller and the call taker remember that the transaction or the text must be simple. We need to avoid short forms, any slang, and use plain language. Simple is best. The caller will see a unique code. Looks like a phone number, but it's 13 characters long. It starts with the digits 555, 911, and a multiple set of digits after. This is the phone number that you'll be texting to for the duration of that session. Once the 911 operator has all the required information that you need, we will send an end-of-call message. Once you see the end-of-call message on your device, you can no longer text to that phone number any longer. If you do, you'll receive a message that tells you to start another text message by calling 911. Should you need to call again, you simply dial 911 and the whole process will begin again. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the media? No? Okay. Well, that concludes today's conference. Thank you very much for coming.